Everybody, Eric Dorward here with the Spartan Rocketry Club, continuing my build here of the Pro Series version of the Estes Nike Smoke. Painting is done. It is time to slap some decals on. These are water slide decals, conveniently this time. So I've got some nice warm water here, and I'm going to toss in the first decal, which I've already cut, while we take a look here. So I masked off everything reasonably well. There aren't any obvious paint seepages underneath the tape. I got a little tiny bit of blistering in the yellow over here, but it's really not that bad. Red's pretty good. It took 2 coats on the yellow. I thought about doing another coat of red over here. There's a little bit, could have been covered better, but it's passably good, so I'm not going to worry about it. Now, the decals, there are only 2 of them, and they both say United States, and you can have a look at the box art to see specifically where they're going to go. In theory, I didn't really paint the coloration on this quite right, because one of the US ones is supposed to go, there we go, between the red and the yellow ones would be right here, but that's where the launch lug I put goes, so it doesn't really matter. Since I'm using, well, there are 2 of them, right? So they should go opposite each other. And since I'm using rail buttons, I'm just going to have it go in between the 2, which makes a lot of sense anyway. So let's put them on. That's probably enough. Warming up, I do have a paper towel ready to go. I'm just going to try to center this. If you, again, were really going for hyper accuracy in your scale modeling, then you probably wouldn't want to eyeball it. I'm going to put, just as a reference, I'm going to put the T in states kind of centered on that launch lug. I think that looks pretty well balanced. Yeah, maybe a little farther this way. Alright, I can live with that. Now I'm going to use my paper towel here to, not really blot, but just push, make sure I don't have any bubbles in anything. I'm going to go then the other direction. A little bit of an air pocket there that I squished out. Whoops. And I have, alright. It's not the world's worst idea to have moist fingers for this. So the decal got stuck to my fingers, which are actually quite dry. Let's go figure. Alright, that's pretty good. I'm going to rotate it the other way. And I probably should have dropped this in earlier. It needs to soak a little bit anyway. So after I have the decals on, I'm almost done. There's another video, I guess, after this, but after the decals go on, I am going to clear coat this, clear spray paint to protect the decals. If you don't put a clear coat on, the decals are basically just exposed, and they are extremely thin, plasticky film, and it doesn't take much to scrape them up. So if you can clear coat, you probably should. It doesn't really hurt anything. It adds a tiny bit of weight, I guess, but worth it. All right, let's put on the other decal here, and again, I said I'm going to center things with the T in United States on that launch lug, so that should be pretty close. I'm going to just rotate it over here and have a look to see if it's pretty close or not. It looks pretty good. Is it perfect? No, but again, if I really wanted it to be perfect, I would measure all this stuff out, and that's just more than I want to do. So I'm going to smooth everything this way, and smooth everything back the other way. There's a little bit of a bubble here down at the bottom, but it's pretty good. Alright, there is this bit of advertisement. Put it on or don't. The instructions say it's supposed to go on one of the red fins next to the yellow. It truly doesn't matter. I'm going to put it on because, why not? Got a little bit of water dripped away. And yeah, that seam is okay, but not great. Alright, good enough. I guess we'll put it here, I guess. It's as good a place as any. Just try to center things up, make it look presentable. Oops. Yeah, that's why you that's why I typically hold it in place, so I don't end up pushing it around when I use the towel here. Okay, that's pretty good. All right, so decal work's done. Water, I'm just going to get out of the way for the time being. The other thing I'm going to do with the rocket, before I clear coat it, get some of this junk out of the way, is I'm going to put together the recovery system, at least part of it. So this is a pretty classic Estes approach. We've got our trapezoidal mount here. This is actually in cardstock rather than in the instructions, so it's a little heftier. I'm not sure that really makes much of a difference, honestly, but there you have it. And we're not going to be using the typical just like elastic band. We have a fairly beefy elastic cord here. But other than that, all this works pretty much the same way. Put some glue in section number 2. Find the end of this thing. Here's an end. That'll work. And just kind of line it up in the middle. I'm actually going to put a little bit of glue on top of this since it's so broad. And then I'm going to fold number 1 over to number 2. Push down to smooth it out here. This is the fact that this is cardstock makes this a bit more difficult because it's so rigid. But that's not really a big problem. Definitely something that can be handled. And then glue in section 3 and on the band. And we'll put a little glue under the band too. Okay. And now fold it over again. Yeah, getting a nice smooth seam here requires a little bit of force, but it shouldn't be that much. Alright, I'm just going to hold this down for a little bit, make sure all the glue is set, and then this is going to go right inside the rocket. There are, of course, other things that need to be done, but I'm not going to do them until after I clear coat it, like the motor retention system. I don't want to have any paint on that. Same deal with the rail buttons. I mean, the rail buttons, it wouldn't hurt if you put them on now and then clear coated it probably, but I need to have stuff to do in the next video anyway, so it's probably better this way. Alright, that seems pretty well, it's tacky anyway, it's not fully set, but it's pretty good. Alright, this needs to be as flat as possible, right, because if it's not flat, then stuff can get snagged on it, which could be as critical as the parachute, so we certainly don't want that. So this is about as flat as I can make this particular bit of cardstock. I am going to use the back flat side here to attach it. There's my glue. Not really bothering with spreading that out, but you could, I suppose, if you wanted to. Alright, we need to bring the rocket back, of course. I'm doing my best to avoid where the decals are. As much space as possible too. Whoops. So I don't want to touch the decals because I could still, dislodge them, which I really don't want to do. Alright, so that's pretty good. I want to get this in. I could actually get this in pretty far because this is a big tube. I can actually reach into it. But the minimum that I need to get it in is as far as the shoulder, like of the nose cone, so several inches, like 3 inches at least. Oops. That's probably about as far as I can comfortably reach and be able to push down. So, yeah, This usually I just do with a finger, right, on a small small shock cord mount, but I can get most of my hand in here now, so that's, the more the better. Just push down everywhere I can. That seems it's about as good as it's going to get. Alright, so that's all I can really do right now. I'm going to wait for the decals to be thoroughly dry, which really doesn't take all that long, an hour or two. And then I'm going to go clear coat it. I'm also going to, this obviously needs to be stuffed in, but since I'm putting the nose cone on it anyway to clear coat it, sometimes I would put it in and then stuff some paper towels in to make sure that it doesn't get painted. But that's a non-issue since the nose cone will do that for me. Alright, there are of course a few last minute things to do after the clear coating, but I will see you then for the final video in this series. Thanks for watching.